If a Tree Falls, a story of the Earth Liberation Front, tells the story of Danny McGowan, a man who was a member of the Earth Liberation Front and who was arrested and eventually sentenced to 7 years in jail for acts of property destruction and ecological terrorism. The Earth Liberation Front is a group that uses economic sabotage and guerrilla tactics, specifically arson, in an attempt to halt destructive actions on the part of large corporations. Though none of the fires set by the ELF have ever resulted in injury or death, they have been labeled as one of the top domestic terror threats in the United States, and its members are classified as eco-terrorists. Throughout the film, many people question the designation of the Earth Liberation Front as a terrorist group, and the movie attempts to raise questions about the validity of this classification. Many people interviewed for this film talked about the doubt and hopelessness they experienced as a result of their time spent protesting for environmental protection. McGowan states, quote, "I feel like I'm in perpetual mourning," unquote, a sentiment echoed by Derek Jensen in What We Leave Behind, when he describes his feelings of, quote, "sorrow and despair about this culture's destruction of so much life, its conversion of the living to the dead," end quote. McGowan mentioned several times that he doubts that systemic change can ever occur without drastic action. Jensen feels similarly, as evidenced when he states that, quote, "if you believe that working within the system is sufficient to stop this omnicidal culture from killing the planet, you might just be a magical thinker," end quote. The emergence of monkey wrenching and sabotage as a new kind of protest underlines the desperations and feelings of being unable to work within the current system. Michael Carolyn also references the idea that the current capitalist economy is incompatible with the ideals of the environmental movement because, quote, "capitalism as currently practiced makes growth an imperative rather than an option, and infinite growth needs infinite resources," end quote. The film details the factors leading up to the formation of the Earth Liberation Front, including the 1995 Warner Creek protest and 1999 World Trade Organization protest in Seattle. I feel that the film could do more to explore the negative effects that the actions of the ELF had on ordinary citizens. For example, the property destruction during the WTO protest likely damaged storefronts that belong not to large corporations, but to ordinary businesses. The few interviews to this effect took an almost derisive tone, particularly the interview with a woman who was upset about this destruction, but then stated that she loved the Boston Tea Party. End Civ seeks to support Jensen's claim that industrial civilization is inherently violent and is incapable of peacefully coexisting with the planet. This film also emphasizes that resistance does not always need to be nonviolent, and that power will not make changes without being forced. It likens the corporate industry to a fascist occupation state that is destroying the planet and the lives of all the creatures on it. The film also attempts to demonstrate to the viewer that the destruction caused by industrial civilization is so commonplace that most people don't recognize it and therefore fail to act. But if we realize what is truly happening, we should feel compelled to stop it at any cost. The reason that many people do not feel the urgent need to stop this destruction is because, according to Jensen, quote, "so many in this culture pretend that the culture is primary and the world is secondary," end quote. This worldview stands in direct contradiction to the mindset of indigenous peoples like the Tolowa, who existed in harmony with the land for centuries. According to Carolyn, quote, "capitalism by its nature is slowly yet undeniably destroying the very thing it needs to survive, its material productive base," end quote. Both films underline the idea that our capitalist economy is incapable of coexisting with the natural environment and must be halted in order to conserve what remains of the planet. End Civ does a good job of imparting the seriousness of the current ecological crisis as well as calling viewers to action, but does not offer many tangible solutions for mobilization.